goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. Through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, rider. I get those goosebumps every time.
Newcastle United.
I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around me, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mugs. Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Loaded Mag NUFC. We are here again. It is the big match preview away days, and they're just getting bigger and bigger every week because Champions League is ever so closer. And we travel to the Emirates, and there's only one way we do this, Daz, is that we get the big guns on. We get the main men in the house. We've got Dan Potts, the 12-man podcast. Of course. How you doing, Dan?
Very well, man. Pleasure to be here. I can't wait for this season to be over. So let's get these last two games out of the way and then we can relax and enjoy the summer. But pleasure to be here, Pete.
Good man. And of course, we've got a very special guest. We always love to have him on, our former right back, black and white. And I love the fact that you two were bantering in the back before we went live, you and Potts. But of course, it's Warren Barton, formerly Newcastle United and huge Newcastle United fan. Welcome in, Warren Barton. How you doing?
Thank you very much. Unlike Dan, don't want the season to end. We're flying. He's panicking. He's nervous, as a load of Gooners are. But yeah, it's been a fairy tale season for Newcastle. 70 years we've had to wait for a trophy, and the season just keeps getting better and better. Yeah, just looking forward to this, and we can enjoy our holidays and start looking to Europe, which is a magnificent thing to do.
Absolutely. We're going to get into it all. But of course, Daz, how are you? Weather good? Enjoying it?
Weather is good. And we weren't relying on Warren to bring the weather. Normally he brings the sunshine or makes us miserable talking about the weather in San Diego. But no, we have it ourselves this time, so we can enjoy it. And I do absolutely love the fact that Warren is our backline there. That wall, nothing is getting past that wall on the Sunday, Dan. So even though you have no striker anyway, so we've nothing to worry about.
Well, we'll definitely get into that one. But look, Warren, I just want to talk to you about Newcastle, because obviously we've not had you on since obviously the Carabao Cup win. History made, trophy in the cabinet finally. But then the run of form that's put us into the position where this conversation is now the battle for second. If Newcastle United win, Newcastle United go second in the table. You would think if Arsenal win this, Arsenal would finish second in the league going into the last game of the season. Just what have you made of Newcastle United this season since the Carabao Cup win and the run of form that Eddie Howe's got our players on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned Eddie Howe, because it is largely down to him. Obviously, the players have done great, but his man management skills has been excellent. And just before the Carabao Cup, we went down to West Ham, and that can always be difficult. A night game down there. I think it was the Monday, and we managed to win it 1-0. And people was talking about, are you going to have one eye on the cup final? And then to have that success of beating Liverpool in the final and winning the cup for the first time in 70 years. As I said, in my time when I was there for nearly 8 years, we got the FA Cup finals 3 times and failed. So we wasn't able to get over the line. Premier League a couple of times as well in Europa. So we wasn't able to do that. So for the club to do that, and I was lucky enough to be there and see the final, and thoroughly deserved to beat Liverpool, who have sort of been the benchmark, or not sort of been, they've been the benchmark this season. And to beat them the way we did. And then afterwards, to Eddie to have the players to be, motivated. The celebration, I'll tell you what I think was a saving grace for Newcastle at that time was the international break. We could go away and celebrate, and the lads went off to Dubai. Some of them was on international duty. The fans could go and celebrate. We was able to throw in the celebration of 300,000 fans drinking Newcastle dry and enjoying their time as well. And then it was back to business. And then it was back. So you had that 2-week window to really enjoy it. And then it was like, okay, let's focus about the games. Let's start going. And I spoke to a lot of Newcastle fans, and it was like, if we can get in European football, that would be great. But again, credit to Eddie and the players and his coaching staff. They kept chipping away. They kept getting results. The Brighton one, to go down there and to get a draw at the end of it was good. And then to beat Chelsea last week with a helping hand of an elbow, which was a red card. But to win that game has put us in a great position. And, Arsenal have had, Dan, I tell you, the concentration of Real Madrid in between while beating them and then going against PSG, who are a very, very good team, a different PSG than they was maybe 3 years ago, with the young players that they've got, and having a game against them that could have gone either way. But for us, it's been a brilliant season, and Eddie's been fantastic. The players have played their part, the fans have played their part, because there has been times at St James's, not necessarily away, because the away fans are brilliant, but at St James's, it can get a bit like most home fans, Dan. I think you're testifying to this, is that they expect to have a performance in the first 20 minutes. And it ain't easy. It's not as easy as that in the Premier League. It never has been. It never will be. But the fans have been brilliant at home. We've got success. And we can, to finish up second or even third or even fourth, fifth, whatever, to get into Champions League would be an unbelievable achievement with all that drama of winning a trophy for the first time in 7 years. And, you could have took your eye off the ball a little bit, but, to be back in Champions League would be wonderful for the club, and obviously great for the fans. They can start planning and looking forward. And it's where we wanted to be when the ownership took over. We want to be competing. We want to be challenging. And we are definitely challenging now. And we've got, top players as well. I mean, the midfield will be a great game the weekend, because their midfield is good. But I think our midfield on our day, without Joe Linton, is maybe one of them things. But I think our free midfield is good as anything in the Premier League.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. Absolutely.
I would hope not, Pete. I would hope not. That's why you invited me on the fucking show, isn't it?
What you've been saying, Lauren, is what we've been
I'd be
fighting.
disappointed, Pete, if you started fucking disagreeing with me. I can understand Dan having a go at me, but not you.
What you're saying is what we've been fighting. What we've been fighting against with opposition fans pretty much all season. Apart from, actually, and a nice segue from Potts, because Potts, you've kind of been singing the kind of like the Newcastle song with regards to us fighting for Champions League and being that team you predicted us to be in the Champions League or get Champions League this season. But from your perspective, are you sort of been vindicated in your thoughts of Newcastle United getting Champions League? What have you made of us sort of in recent weeks, and obviously in the build-up to the game on Sunday?
Yeah, look, I'd love to come and start bantering you all, but I have to be real, man. This is the best season I've seen Newcastle United have in my history of watching football. You've won a trophy. You're going to get Champions League. I think you're going to finish second. We'll come on to why in a minute. And I must say, I think Eddie Howe deserves an unbelievable amount of credit and respect. I don't think he gets enough, if I'm honest. I think people look at him as a little bit of a PE teacher still, and I don't quite know why. The guy done incredible stuff with Bournemouth. I think people kind of forgotten about that, really. I mean, we haven't seen that for a very, very long time, what he did with Bournemouth. And, they went downhill, didn't they, when he left? I know they're up now, and they look brilliant, to be fair to him, for a club the size of Bournemouth. But I think what he did there was incredible. And I don't think people have spoken enough about what he's done with Newcastle, not just in terms of getting them Champions League, which looks like now 2 in 3 years, and winning them a trophy, but the individual man management and the improvement of some of the players has been incredible for me. And I look at Eddie Howe as a massive part of that. I look at Jacob Murphy. I don't think anyone would have touched him with a barge pole, to be honest, to be brutally honest. He's been phenomenal this season from what I can make out. I look at what he's done with Joe Linton. He couldn't, hit a barn door. Now, all of a sudden, he's one of the better and most hardworking monsters in midfield. I think he's done brilliantly to highlight 2 up-and-coming fullbacks that I don't think get enough mention, if I'm honest, in Livramento and Lewis Hall. I think they've been phenomenal this season. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Newcastle, and not a lot of people like me saying it. A lot of people think I go a bit too far with it, and I don't think I do, if I'm honest. I think I've proven this season why I thought you were going to do well. Look, I'm a big fan of what your midfield trio is. If I'm honest with you, I'd take I'd happily take all three of them, but I'd definitely take Tonali and Bruno G. And I think most people would in the top six, to be fair. I think they're absolutely brilliant. I know Don was having a battle, wasn't he, about how Chelsea have got this elite midfield trio that are better than Newcastle's. And look, you can look at him individually, and I do like Lavia and I do like Caicedo, and I do think Cole Palmer's electric when he's on fire. But I think in terms of the balance, Newcastle have got the best trio in the league. I really do. I think they're better than Arsenal's. I do like Partey, Rice and Odegaard, but I don't think as a balance it really works still. So for me, I think what Newcastle have done this season has been great. And I wanted just to beat Liverpool in the final. I was glad. I thought the scene said it all. And I knew that was going to happen. That was why I wanted you to win it. It weren't just because I like Liverpool. Not that I really hate them too much, but I didn't really want them to win. I wanted because I knew what the scenes were going to be. And fair play to you boys, man. It's been a class year for you, man. It really has.
Yeah, definitely. It does. It has been an absolute class year. But just from your perspective, like, what do you think it means for Newcastle United to get Champions League football? We've talked about it all season. We've kind of been tentative in whether we play the music or not to get those feelings going. But we're so close to it now. What does it mean for us, in your opinion, to get Champions League football? We're literally one win, 3 points away from all but confirming it.
I don't know about tentative, Pete. I played on the first game of the season, remember, and I've got that clipped up, by the way, ready to go. But no, it's our best season ever. If we get Champions League, even if we get second as well, on top of that as well, it's just absolutely unbelievable. What Eddie Howe has done, and second to everything that Dan said there, even Dan Burn as well, getting the best out of Dan Burn. Dan Burn getting the best out of himself. On top of that, you go right across the squad. Even Isak, because Isak, when he came to us, there was like question marks of would it be it, because he didn't have a great season in Real Sociedad the season before he came to us, but again he's taken to a new level. And we all know the Arsenal fans have their like the look of Isak, but no, it just would be absolutely amazing to round it off now in style. And that statue in time will come for Eddie Howe. That's for sure.
Definitely. Warren, I'll just come back to you before we go to Arsenal. What do you think are the next steps, in your opinion, for Newcastle United? So just say we get those 3 points, and we all hope we do. We get Champions League football. It's clinched, confirmed. What do you see the next steps for Newcastle United in their evolution, summer and beyond?
Yeah, I think it's like every club that are building is to bring other Tonalis into the squad, so you're not relying on maybe 7 or 8 players. You've got, 15, 16 players that, if they do come in, there's no drop off, which is always difficult to do. You've got to keep everybody happy. But when you're playing international football and you're playing Champions League and you're playing Premier League and the Cups, there's a lot of games to go around. So I think the next step for Newcastle is to build on the success you've done. Don't rest on our laurels. Unfortunately, when we was building the entertainers, 2 years later, we sold Les Ferdinand, we sold David Ginola, Philippe Albert left, Peter Beardsley left. And it took us really 2.5 years to then rebuild under Sir Bobby Robson to get back into Champions League. I'm a believer that you've always got to keep building while you're being successful. And if that means players that have had their run in the club, and fair play to them, that you move on and go that. But the recruiting system has been excellent. You spoke about it. And then, that's another thing. He's come in, Eddie, and he's made, I think, every single player better. Fabian Schär was £3 million they paid for him, arguably one of the most complete centre halves in the game, and he might not even get in next season when Botman's fit. With Big Dan Burns doing well. So I think you've got to keep building on what we've got. We've got to add, that international player that wants to be in the Champions League. There's enough of players around, whether it's at Bayer Leverkusen, Bayern Munich, you look at Dortmund, them type of things. But there's a profile that Eddie wants with his players, that are fit, young, energetic players. And, there's an identity, and it's a great football club to play for. I've always been banging a drum, and I'm biased, but, Dan will tell you the atmosphere's up there. The training ground that we've got now is getting modified. People want to be challenging for things. So, it's just building a bridge of bringing other 3 or 4 top-class players in, and that's easier said than done because everybody's looking at that same players. But what I do like for Newcastle's point of view, that people want to play for Eddie Howe because how he looks after his players. people want to play for Newcastle because of the fans, how they react. And also, you know, the standard of living where you're going to be living, the way you're looked after up there. You're not just another number. People will look after you when you're up there. Even when I'm, you know, 25 years later, people still look after me when I go up there. So it's a great place to live. But you're competing with a lot of things, but also for Newcastle now, there's a lot of things going for them. And that's, for me, has always been the way. But Champions League is something that can really attract them players and be on this journey that, you know, can be successful and compete and try and win another trophy, because the hardest thing is winning the first one. Now you've got a chance to win another one and keep building on that. And that would be wonderful to see. And I think Europe is better when the Newcastle fans are travelling. You know, the fans go out there, they have a great time, they celebrate, and they, you know, get behind their team. So, yeah, that would be great for everybody if we can do that with some other quality players. You know, whether it's 2 or 3 would be wonderful.
Definitely. There's a question that I'll ask you later, like a little bit further on, in relation to players and coming and playing for Newcastle United, because I think it might be quite prevalent to kind of discuss that. But Potts, talk to me about Arsenal, whether you want to or not. Just assess your season for me, because you were set up to be the team to break Man City. Man City broke, but Liverpool have then taken the mantle. We're battling it out for second at the moment. Champions League semi-final, Carabao Cup semi-final. You know, where's your head at with Arsenal? I know you've had this conversation maybe before, but just in this moment right now, how are you seeing Arsenal Football Club from your perspective?
Not very positively, bruv. I've got to be honest. Look, I said this season was going to pan out the way it has. Trophyless. We've got a manager who can't get us across the line. We've got owners that have got zero ambition to win. They're quite happy to get Champions League football and do nothing more. We saw that in both of the transfer windows. We've got a board at the moment that's literally just at this time appointed a sporting director. We're happy to go summer and January with Edu and Jason Ato, who no one has heard of. Even Arsenal fans didn't know who he was. So it's been poorly run. And I think when you go into a January transfer window with the players we had and don't do anything, it's really quite obvious why you're going to go out of all the trophies and not win the Premier League. I said our season was finished when we signed Raheem Sterling on deadline day, and everyone said that's extremely too much, and you're doing too much, and you're too early. Let the season pan out. But I knew it was going to end like this. We haven't got nowhere. You cannot win Premier Leagues when you do what we do, when you act like we act as a football club. And no one seems to be putting pressure on the manager. It's just like, it's Mikel. Give him another year. Netflix FC it is. And this is why we get bantered, man. You know, in that 5 years, we're going to see a lot of managers win trophies that he hasn't won any in. Now, since he's won that FA Cup, Mikel Arteta, he's won 2 FA Cup games since in 5 years. One of them was against Oxford. The other one was against Palace. He's thrown every single League Cup in the bin, and having getting to 2 semi-finals has been embarrassed by Liverpool and Newcastle in the best part of 5 years that we've been there. It was absolute horrendously bad. Playing not just you, but also Liverpool as well. And then you look at the Champions League and the Europa League and you think, fair play, Bayern Munich and PSG, they're no muppets to go out to. But let's be real. You can't go and beat Real Madrid and get a trophy for that and then put in 2 pitiful performances against PSG. Now, will we outclassed and outplayed in parts of the game? Absolutely. But you have to be better than that tactically as a manager to get through those games when it matters. You can't just be stubborn and leave it and do nothing to change it up at all. Now, people will say you can't do much to change up those games. Well, I'm looking at the bench and I'm seeing players that he's signed. 31 players, which is almost enough to have 3 11s, by the way. And people are saying he still needs more time and he still needs more players. When are you going to buy a striker, Mikel? When? Because it's all right buying 7 goalkeepers and 15 left backs, but when are they going to play up front and actually allow us to score goals? Because Kai Havertz and Jesus are the only 2 strikers he's brought in. One of them has been injured with 3 ACLs. The other one was a number 8, he told us, who's been put up top and has now got injured. On top of that, at the start of the season, he said that we wanted a small squad by design. And then 2-3 weeks ago, he's complaining about our squad being too thin. Then he comes out and makes ridiculous comments about Liverpool, saying the only reason they won the league is because Arsenal ain't turned up in the last 2 seasons. We had more points. Or the season ain't actually over yet, and they can't get over 90. We only got 89 last year. They win their next 2 games. Liverpool are going to be fine and over what we got, right? And then he comes out and says we're the best team in the Champions League when we were out. What a numbskull thing to say. You've just been kicked out and you're trying to say you're better than everyone else in the competition when you're out of it. And then he comes out and makes stupid comments saying over my dead body. Well, I don't know when the funeral is, but we lost the title God knows how many months ago. So I don't understand this manager at all. I've had enough of him. I would replace him in the summer, and a lot of the fan base I know now would. However, it looks like he's going to be given another year under Andrea Berta, so we'll have to look at the summer and future as what that might look like. But I'm sick and tired of Arsenal fans accepting mediocrity. 5 years at this club is way too long to go without a trophy. Now, people might look and go, that squad, do you think that squad's good enough to win a Premier League or a Champions League? Do you know what? Maybe it might not be. But you know what it is good enough to do? Win a trophy in the last 5 years. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for trebles here or doubles or win a Premier League. Then you better go and win that Champions League. Next year after that, you better win that Premier League again. I'd love to be like that, but I'm also fairly realistic as an Arsenal fan to suggest that's quite hard not to do that, right? When I look at this and I see teams won Premier League in 8 years at Arsenal, come on, man. That's too long. I was growing up winning, so I'm a little bit spoiled. And I will admit that I was spoiled growing up in the late 80s and 90s. Very, very spoiled. Arsenal were incredible. But when you've spent 750 million and you get given a 5-year project and you deliver nothing other than winning with a toxic Emery side, which we were told, Aubameyang wins him in a couple, he boots him out and he hasn't replaced him since. There's a lot that's on Mikel here, man. And I don't know personally about you guys, but I don't know any other elite European club that sacks their manager and says, right, who's that assistant manager at Man City? Let's go get him. We'll give him 750 million. We'll buy him a fucking PR dog. We'll say to him, here's 5 years. Don't have to win anything. Yeah. But I tell you what, one day you will. Trust the process, patience, phases, projects, plans, all these P words. Right, profile of striker, everything good of a P.
Pathetic would be another
pathetic.
One.
There we go. That's another one. Yeah.
So Danny, because I look at it from the outside, Arteta, and it was, you're correct, it was really vogue to get, right, let's get anyone that's involved with Pep Guardiola. That sort of side of the game now is changing. You've seen now players, passing out from the back. That's sort of old now. So, but everyone was like really, owners was enamored by, let's get anything that Pep does and Arteta can do. And I see sometimes with Arsenal, like they're trying to overthink it and they're playing like another way rather than the Arsenal way. There's like Newcastle fans want to play you a certain way. That's why certain managers don't get when they come to Newcastle. Ruud Gullit, for example. Newcastle fans want to be entertained. They want to play on the front foot. They want you to put your foot in. They want you to get crosses in. They want you to try and score goals. That's Newcastle's DNA. Like Arsenal's were the same. Like you said, with the DNA that you had Vieiras and Petites, and unlucky enough I played against them and Henry's. And then you went with the Fabregases and thing. Like there was a certain way that Arsenal was going to play. What they've done by bringing Arteta in, although he was an Arsenal player, they want him to play Pep's way. But that ain't Arsenal's way. That's not Arsenal. They don't play like that. That's not how the DNA of that football club. When you look at their academy and some of the great young players that have come out of that academy, which is starting to get some good players come through now, very good players, and it dried up a little bit. But there's a certain way when you play for Arsenal Football Club, it was different than when you played for another club. And that seems to have gone away. I mean, you can put the example of Manchester United, and we all love what's happening with them at the moment. And I hope it continues for another fucking 10 years as well, that shambles. But if Arsenal are not, responsible in what they're doing with either a coach or buying players and a certain style of player, you'll end up disappearing, because you look at what Aston Villa's doing now, and you've said about other teams that are starting to spend money and come again, you end up being a second team of what Man City was, and look what's happened to them. They're starting to rebuild, and I think Arsenal got caught up in that. I thought the owner got caught up in let's be what Pep's doing, and that was coming to the end. People have figured that out now, and I think that's bit Arsenal in the backside a little bit because
You look at how unentertaining we are this season now, Warren. Look at the set pieces that we're playing in. We go to the semi-finals of the Champions League, and Thomas Partey's taking long throw-ins to win us the game.
We used to get Wimbledon. We used to get hammered for that, and now all of a sudden it's the fucking. Now we've invented the wheel. You've taken a long throw. We used to get Vinny to do it. Take a long throw and then launch it in the box. And to be honest with you, it's your best chance with what was it, Martinelli, when he had the chance against PSV, was a long throw. But it just all seems to be, like you said with Arsenal, a bit confusing of what Arsenal Football Club should be.
It's time to deliver now, Warren. That's my big question mark. It's time to deliver now. All this process is done. He's had all the money, all the players. There's no more patience. This is deliver or we need to replace you. And I truly believe, and I know people know, oh, you just hate Arteta. I'm not particularly a massive fan of the manager. No, I don't hate him. I don't know the geezer, right? I don't care who the manager is of Arsenal. It doesn't bother me, right? I'll always support Arsenal. I don't particularly believe he is the guy to get us across the line. Now, I hope I'm wrong and next season we win a treble, right? Of course I do. However, I just don't think that I can have the evidence so far to go, I know he didn't get across the line, but he did last season and he did win the League Cup 2 years ago and he did win the FA Cup twice and he has brought us a Champions League. I can't say that anything. I can say he won the FA Cup and then he said, right, get rid of that team that's winners. Let's build a team and win nothing for the next 5 years. That for me is not good enough. And I think for me now, it's time to get that. Do you know when Brendan Rodgers was at Liverpool and it was like, he's not Klopp, but he's done brilliant to get Liverpool back there. Now they're ready to get across the line. When Mark Hughes was at Man City, they needed Mancini to get him across the line. And when Ranieri was at Chelsea, they needed Mourinho. I think we're there. I think we need now the guy to take us across the line because no one can sit there and tell me that this Arsenal squad is a shambles and they don't like or rate any of the players. And it's like, how do you get rid of 24 players? There's quite a few that I'd like to get rid of and upgrade on. Don't get me wrong, but there's quite a good foundation built now. And I can't take anything away from Arteta and praise him enough for how he's got us challenging. Can he get us across the line though? Because we were already challenging under Wenger, which is why we hounded him out. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
And that's the worry, I think, for if you're an Arsenal fan, is because I think you made a really good point and you used the example of Brendan Rodgers. Because what they did is that once he got them really, really close and didn't quite get over the line, they then very quickly moved him away. And then, like as you said, they brought Klopp in. For me, I think, and look, we've had this conversation before, Potts, I think that should have happened last summer. And I think there's a lot of other people that have said the same. That should have happened because you would have still, in my opinion, with a new manager, with a fresh mentality to kick the team on, would have been able to continue that momentum of you challenging for the title, getting quite close. It's not quite happened with that manager, but this manager comes in with a fresh approach, but you've still got the momentum kicking on. The fact that the club has given it a year, and in my opinion, yes, you're sitting second right now, Potts, but you look at the points differences you've talked about.
Not for long, they're not. Not for long, they're not.
Warren made a point before the show.
Absolutely.
Ask him on Monday where they are.
Yeah. Okay. I'll reword this. So you're currently second for now. That could and may well change on Sunday. But the points difference is so drastically different, and it feels like you're already kind of like going down that way. And to take him for another year, which is what's been projected, I'd be worried that it's going to get worse.
Pete, you're not helping Dan's situation.
I was waiting for the boost. I was waiting for the confidence boost here.
There's no boost.
The confidence boost would be to replace the manager this summer. That's the point I'm making. Is that you're telling me they're going to give him another year.
Replacing him. Look, the time to replace your manager is now. Let me tell you why. Not forget what he's done this season and recently. We've just bought a new sporting director in Andrea Berta, who knows what he's doing. Right, this guy's not coming in to mess about. Yeah, we're predicted a huge summer. Ornstein's come out. I've heard all this before in war chest and all this crap, but I do genuinely believe we will spend big this summer. I think a lot of people will as well, by the way. I don't think it will just be Arsenal. I think the summer's going to go mad. I think you boys will spend, City will, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea. The list goes on, right? But I do believe that we're going to spend money. Now, what I want to get to a scenario is that window shuts and I look at that Arsenal squad and I go, right, win me a trophy, Mikel. No excuses. Nowhere to hide. Go and win a trophy. That side is good enough to go and win a trophy. Without being disrespectful to Newcastle, if they can win a trophy, Liverpool can come in on Arnie slot in phase 1, if you want to go down phases, and win a title. and then we can see Chelsea and City potentially, or even Palace winning trophies with their sides. Ten Hag can win a trophy with Man United's shambles. Potentially Amorim or even Ange can win a trophy with their shambles. Why can't we? There's no hiding place for Mikel Arteta next season. I'm sorry, you win or you leave, and we get someone in. So for me, we're not going to get that guy. And you are right, Pete. We do need to, in my opinion. And people say to me, who do you want? And I hate that question, by the way. It's like there's no other managers out there than Arteta. Who are you going to get? Oh, yeah, I get this all the time. Robbie does it all the time. Who are we going to get? Who are we going to get? What do you mean, who are we going to get? What strike? It's like me saying Kai Havertz is our striker. Do we need a striker? Yeah. Who are you going to get? Go on, tell me now, who are you going to get? There's bloody loads of them out there, man. Go and get someone that's better than this clown. Do you know what I'm saying? That's how you do it. I'm sick of these people, man. They sit there this is why we ain't won nothing for ages. And our fans are lapping it up, piling out of the club shop, filling the Cronky's pockets, mate. This is why this club won't move unless fans start to actually have a bit of a go about it. Because some of us are so happy, mate. Oh, this journey's unbelievable. Well, how long ago were you watching Arsenal? I've been watching Arsenal since bloody 1992, mate. Yeah, coming out second against Highbury. I was in mourning against United when we lost in 2003. I could hardly even celebrate the Robert Pires goal when we won the FA Cup, so I was still half crying that we threw the league away. That's the mentality when I was growing up. It weren't, isn't it joy to be second and not eighth? Oh, it's unbelievable. I can't stand that mentality, man.
Hey, you should have been like me, 12 points clear. Imagine how I felt.
Yeah, do you know what, Warren?
Don't go there. Don't go there, Warren.
30 years afterwards, that's why I look like this, Dan.
I know you did it, mate.
I'll give you a few reasons why we did it. Let's get positive. Come on, let's talk about Newcastle. Let's talk about Newcastle.
Yeah, let's do it.
Fuck
Absolutely.
Arsenal. I have enough about them, Arsenal. I can talk about Newcastle. We're having a good time. The sun's
Absolutely.
out.
I do like the way you're approaching it, Dan. You're ruthless about it, and if you were in charge, you'd push the button now and make that change.
You know why? You know why though? He's not in charge because he talks common sense. That's why.
Yeah,
it talks common sense. If you talk common sense, they don't have you. They have someone that talks a load of dribble and they buy into it. That project thing, it's great. It's great, that project.
Bloody projects, sticker projects, man.
I'm going to ask you a question, boys. Give me your honest answers. Do you think Eddie Howe should be, if he finishes second, manager this season?
No, I think it's got to go to Nuno. I don't know how Forest to get in European football when they're predicted to come 15th. Personally,
Okay,
that's just me.
No, I brought up this question the other day. For me, it's Eddie. No, I know I'm biased, but for what if he gets us into the Champions League, if we are to come second and winning the League Cup, Nuno had one hand on it, but the drop off has been horrific for them. And if it continues, if they get Champions League, he's probably back up again.
Do you think though, Daz? Like, and look, I'm not saying Eddie shouldn't, and I don't really care. It ain't going to be Arteta, right? Is my answer. But when I look who deserves it, I think Arne Slot does deserve a hell of a lot of credit, by the way. I don't think people have understood how hard that is just to walk in and go, yeah, we'll go win the league when it took Klopp 9 years to win one, right? He's done it 1 in 1. I appreciate Man City had dropped off and we weren't great, but it's still a massive achievement because if you look at the points they've got, it would have competed for the last 3-4 years, how good they've been, right? So I think he deserves a mention. The reason I mention Nuno is because I think it's probably the one that's the most unexpected. Like, it's not a massive shock that Liverpool won the league. It's not like, what? It's not like a Leicester. I think Newcastle getting Champions League football and winning a trophy, I didn't go, never saw that coming. They're awful, Newcastle. So I think with Forest, I actually predicted them to be in a relegation fight. For them to get potentially on week 30 and be third, I understand they've got 7th now, but they still could get into the top 5. I don't know how we can look past Nuno personally. That's just me. But
no, fair point. So what do you think, Warren?
I would go with Eddie. I mean, I understand with Nuno, but they could quite easily next season be in a relegation battle, with what they had, the current run of form. I think when you've had the burden of trying to win a trophy for 70 years, you've done that. Their style of football as well, the way that they play, it will always go to whoever wins the Premier League. And Slot deserves a lot of credit for the way he's done that, because it's very much similar to what Wenger did when he first took over Arsenal. Didn't do drastic changes, but tweaked it here and there and gradually got them better. And to keep Mo Salah there and, Van Dijk and players like that, I think he would be up there. But you look at Eddie, like I said, with the players that he's got, the way he's made them better, players that are scoring goals. Jacob Murphy, as you said, there's a lot of things that go with it. I think also the way he does it, he doesn't beat his own drum. I think he's very humble in what he does. He appreciates where he is. There's a lot of coaches that I've been around and played for that can't wait to tell everybody how good they are and how much they reinvented the wheel. And he just gets on with his business and does it. So I would go with Eddie, but that's obviously bias from that point of view.
Are you with Warren, Daz? Eddie?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, Eddie all the way for me. There's a shout here from Geordie Tune for Life for Glasner. If they were to win, I don't think he'd get it, but if they were to win the FA Cup, that's some achievement as well. And he had a brilliant first season with them, but to drop off this season.
Worst trophy in history as well, man. That would be Palace had never won anything. So yeah, crazy.
Good manager, done well. I just wanted to kind of get people's opinions on that. It's interesting that we all kind of had different managers and we didn't have Slot as our first choice. I know, Warren, you said it will go to the winner, and it probably will go to the winner of the Premier League. Slot will probably win it, but it's interesting that our opinions, you had Nuno, Potts, we had Eddie Howe, that they are different to what I think is expected. But I just want to spend a few minutes just looking at potential lineups, and the reason being is because I'll throw this out there, is that there was news today that Havertz and Rice were both back in training. So I don't know if you were aware of that, Potts. Don't know if that means that Havertz will be available to play at the weekend. But I think Trossard was in training as well. Not sure what you know about that. But I just wanted to get your opinion, first of all, on what you think the lineup will be on Sunday. So we'll throw it up onto the screen for a second. If I can see it. I think you can see the pitch there. I can't see you guys, but I can see the screen. Just run me through really quickly your team, Pots, that you think it will be the first 11.
Yeah, so Rice, Trossard and Havertz were all in training, which is a massive shock to me because it was only yesterday they said that Trossard will probably be out with a bit of a tight hamstring. Rice has got a hamstring problem that didn't look too great. And Havertz, I did not expect to see until next season. So, look, I don't think that Mikel Arteta, if I'm honest, is definitely going to be playing all three. But we're in a bit of a mess. I mean, our strikers position, mate, if I'm honest. And without Marino now, who's suspended, and with Trossard potentially, who I thought was injured, with Havertz and Jesus both out injured, I thought, who the hell's going to play up top? It'd have to be Martinelli. But now that could change things. I don't know that they'll all play. Being in training, we did an open training session today at the Emirates where people could come and have a chat, and obviously they were all out there, which is great to see them coming back because we have had horrendous injuries this season. I know it's not an excuse, and I don't like to use it as an excuse, but we have had horrendous injuries. What the team will be David Raya in goal. At right back, it will be Ben White. Timber is
sorry, Dan.
Go on, mate.
Sorry to interrupt that. Pete, we can't see the screen again. Can you just reshare the screen?
Oh, hold on 1 second.
Yeah, there's no tactics thing up. Sorry, I did see that. It come down for some reason.
Is it back?
Yeah, I think it's
back
loading
now.
up.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, it's back now. We can see it now.
I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. We have no choice at centre-back pairing still because we literally have nobody back. Gabriel's still out. So we've got Saliba as a right-sided centre-back and Kivior as a left-sided centre-back. He's got a toss-up here between Riccardo Calafiori and Lewis Skelly. I think he will go now with Lewis Skelly now we've got news of people being back. I thought he may have played Calafiori and had Lewis Skelly in midfield because we were so short in midfield. But now I think it will be Partey, Rice and Odegaard in the midfield if Rice is back in training. And then I think what will happen and across the front three now, Saka will definitely play on the right-hand side. Saka plays every game. Like, seriously, I don't know why, but I know he's quality, but he plays every game. And then it's going to be interesting as to what we do. If Trossard is fit, I think he will go with Martinelli and Trossard. If Trossard is not, so Martinelli left and Trossard through the middle, yeah. And I think they might switch and interchange like they did at Anfield. But Sterling or Waneri could come into the mix if Trossard is not 100% fit. And if Rice isn't 100% fit, what he might have to do is play Calafiori at left back and put Lewis Skelly into the middle with Partey in midfield. So that's probably what the team will be, mate. Of course, I don't know how fit some of these players are, though.
Okay. no, it seems like that's looking likely to be the team with the players that you mentioned back in training. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But still a strong team with the players that you've got available at the Emirates as well. But Daz, and I want you, Warren, to kind of critique the lineup. Do you agree with what Daz's assessment is when he picks the Newcastle team? So, Daz, what are you going for the 11 for Newcastle?
Oh, no. I'm not doing this. I'm not risking the wrath of Chris Hall. Chris Hall takes this very seriously. Chris can't be here tonight. I'm going to hand it over to Warren there. Let Warren pick the team, and I'm the buzzer ready to correct you, Warren, if I don't like any of your selections.
No, I think it'd be the starting 11 that played against Chelsea. He's very loyal to his players, Eddie. I don't see him deviating at all. So I think with the back line that he said, the midfield balance that they've had, he never really changes it too much. So I think with everybody
back three again
within there, and I think he's done that with Arsenal before, where he went with that system, and I think he's finding a way again to get the best out of his players. That he's got, and he's got now a little bit more depth with people coming back. So I don't think he'll change it as well, because he kept the same players he's had before. As I said, that balance of Tonali and Bruno in midfield is as good as anything, and he's been able to think on the fly. It's great to see Gordon back. He's had to be patient, Isaac, and as I said with Murphy, he's on fire. I think he's got 19 involvements in games this season. So from that point of view, I think it gives us a good foundation. Arsenal like to have possession, but we've got players that can hurt them in the counter-attack as well. So that's what I would go with, and Eddie's shown that he won't deviate from that either. It'd be interesting as well, like, with Arsenal, if players are not fit, Martinelli, does he go down the middle? Then you lose a little bit of that balance on that left-hand side. But, if there's a chance for Arsenal to try and push forward and Newcastle to take their opportunities, I think it's this type of game. It's set up for us to go there and put a good performance in.
Do you stick with this position then? This formation now going into next season?
No, I think, but I think for this point of view at the moment, and you touched on when the two fullbacks get fit, and I think Eddie's shown it that away from home or certain games, he's quite happy to go through it at the back. I think when everybody's fit, he will have Botman and someone next to him, and then the two young fullbacks pushing on and things like that. I just think this at the moment a little bit like he don't want to get beat, and it makes sure that it gives a good chance to win the game as well. So yeah, I don't think he go with three at the back. I don't think that's what he want to do. I think just at the moment he wants to go that way, and then he'll change it around when he, particularly when he wants to be aggressive going forward. He might, and if Joe Linton gets back in there, that changes dynamics as well.
Yeah, I think Joe Linton's the big difference maker in that. I think if he's fit, then they go with the 4-3-3 at 110%. But I actually, just to add really quickly to that, I actually can see us playing this way in Europe next year. Like in certain games, if we're in the Champions League, I can see us setting up like this to play. But and this is the great thing and this is part of what we were talking about before, is that Eddie Howe has that tactical nous to kind of play different styles of football and it not look any different in terms of the quality of performance that we put in. But Does anything to add on that before we?
No, as in this is exactly the same squad. I didn't have to use my buzzer. That Warren is picked is what I was going to go with as well. Well, I do have a kind of question for Warren. Let's take advantage of having Warren here. Would you rather play in when you were playing in a 4-3-3, or would you rather where Murphy is there? Would you rather play it in that kind of wing back kind of a role? So like a flat back four or a wing back?
I was never gifted enough and quick enough to get past someone as a wing back. I was more of a fullback pushing on, overlapping. So it's really difficult when you play as a wing back. It's like, particularly if Arsenal with Martinelli, do you come back and mark him, and then all of a sudden you're playing five at the back? I was always more comfortable having the game in front of me. So I was more of a back four to push on. And we did it against Roma when Totti was playing. Bobby played me as a centre half. and we played as a right, a little bit like what Pep did with Kyle Walker. That he was, if you ever went out there, he was quite happy to do that. So he played me a couple of times in Europe, funny enough, when we had to do that. So I did play there a couple of times, but I was more of if like a fullback. That's what I would like, rather than a wing back. I didn't have the ability to go past people.
Interesting.
Can I just say, you didn't have to fucking all agree with that. You could have said, no, Warren, actually you could do this, but you all just went, yeah, you're right. You're right.
No, yeah, you're right, Warren. Yeah, we remember.
To be fair, the last time we went to the Emirates, we set up. Interesting about this tactical formation, we set up the same way in the first leg in the Carabao Cup semi-final, and it worked a treat, because looking at that, and Potts, you'll know this. You haven't got a physical centre back that's big and strong that can hold up the ball. What you do have though is runners in the spaces, and this is why I think Newcastle set up the way they do, because you'll have Odegaard trying to occupy these spaces here. Martinelli will be coming in and around. You get Declan Rice sometimes making these forward runs into those spaces. So at times in games, Arsenal set up like this, and having the three centre backs, Botman will always occupy the main one in the middle, and then Livramento will come here, Murphy will come here, and that's how we stop it, because we block any of the gaps and the spaces in between each player. And then you would have known, and you'd see we've got the ability on the counter attack to get back and forward. But these two are crucial because they have to do so much running in the game. And I think playing that way is going to be the key to beating you on Sunday. And it's proven successful. I think we played actually at St James's Park in November too, and I think that's why I think I've always
do well in the low block. You have to play low block as well. It's on Sunday. If you come at us, which is great, you could still probably beat us if you come at us, to be fair, but with the quality you got on the pitch. But it'll be very hard to score against you, I think. Very, very hard to score against you. With that lineup you got there, I mean, that was actually really good tactically to show everyone how difficult it's going to be to break you down, to be fair. I think Saka against Dan Burn, I'd fancy it. I'm a big fan of Livramento, by the way. But I think I fancy Saka. I've got to back my star boy. I think he's phenomenal, even though he's half fit. He's still bloody good. I mean, see him against Real Madrid, a half-fit Saka just shows that he's near to being world-class, really, doesn't it? So, yeah, for me, fair. Odegaard's got a big game. He's had a poor season, to be fair to him. And I think shooting from distance is something that we need to do a little bit more at the Arsenal. We're always trying to walk it in the goal all the time. What I want to see is one of these boys have a shot, whether it's Rice or Odegaard, or even if it's Thomas Partey, having a bit of a dig, Saka, cutting inside of Dan Burn and having a dig, because it ain't always about walking it through the Newcastle backline. It's going to be tough to do that, it really is.
Definitely. But there's the lineups, guys. We'll see if we're right on Sunday when it comes out. I know we're tight on time with both yourself, Potts, and Warren. So, Daz, if there are a couple of questions to ask them before we go to their predictions.
Plenty. Let's do kind of quick fire because there's lots. So the first one comes from Jordy Tune for Life. Says, question for Warren: at your time at Newcastle, who was the most difficult player you had to mark? But over a minimum of 3 games, not just off one. So he wants you to.
Yeah, I think Ryan Giggs always comes to mind. I played against Ryan for well over 12 years, and playing against him, it was always difficult. So yeah, I would say Ryan Giggs was the one, and Henry when he was in that zone, and he used to love drifting over to that left-hand side. So week in, week out, people like Ryan Giggs and Thierry Henry was difficult to play against.
Can I just tell a very quick story, Daz? I bumped into one of Warren's mates the other day, Jeff Shreves, right? And I was chatting to him outside.
That is a very loose friend, exactly. Very loose.
Well, apparently it's quite close.
I just like to say that.
Yeah, close link, he said to me. Anyway, he was talking to me and he said, Warren Barton against Bergkamp. He told me a hilarious story where he literally flicked it through around you and you looked up at the bench and just looked at, I think it was Wenger, and went, he's pretty good, isn't he? Something along those lines.
It was a corner at Highbury, and David Seaman had punched it out, and it was where the old Highbury bit where the box is. And I think I've got him now. I've got him on the halfway line, Bergkamp facing away on there. If he turns, I can give it to him. With the outside of his right foot, he flicked it through my legs, and I'm looking now at Pat Rice, who was one of my heroes, and Arsene Wenger. There was an F in there. I went, he's fucking good, isn't he? He's really good. He's one of the only ones to nutmeg me. So yeah, he did that. I remember playing against Henry as well, when just after Monaco, And then he'd gone to Arsenal, and I'd said to him, because we swapped shirts when he was at Monaco, and we was playing at Arsenal, and he used to love drifting over. So I said, Mr. Henry, do me a favour. Can you just go over to Mr. Beresford, because my wife and kids are here? He went, no problem, Mr. Barton. He went over there to Beresford and terrorised him for 20 minutes, and then come over. He went, you okay now? I went, yeah, fine. That's very good. Thank you very much.
Quality, man. Quality.
Class.
We bumped into Nico Davidas there the last time we were in Newcastle. Pete, Chris, and myself. He was in a rush though. I think he could have been looking for Bergkamp. Not 100% sure. Couldn't find him. Still kept spinning.
Best goal. Best Premier League goal ever, man. Best Premier League goal ever.
Bad touch. It was a bad touch.
Nick
has come to me because I called him afterwards. I said, you know, what happened? He went, he took a heavy touch. I was like, of course he did, Nick Ross.
Same heavy touch that went through your legs, Warren. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Listen. Hey, if you're going to get nutmegged, that's my only one, Dennis Bergkamp. I'm happy with that. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. He was a player.
It's quality.
Quality.
All right, one from the Colin. He says, question for Warren. How tense was it when Ruud Gullit benched Shearer, and how did the team react to him being frozen out?
No, it was very tough. I think I've told you this before as well. We were getting ready to play Sunderland, doing some set pieces, and Alan had a different colour bib on. And I said, what are you doing? He went, I'm not playing. So I said, you're joking, aren't you? He went, no, he's told me I'm not playing. So maybe we shouldn't, but myself and Gary Speed knocked on Ruud's door and said, Gaffer, what's your plan? What's your thinking? He went, I'm not playing him. I said, well, have you told him? He went, no. He went, well, you better tell your captain that he ain't playing against Sunderland of all the teams. Not playing. He went, well, no one told me if I was ever being left out. And I went, well, Ruud, with all due respect, European Player of the Year twice, you've never got left out. I think you owe it to tell Alan. And then when, obviously we lost the game, then to Big Duncan Ferguson as well, who we've all seen with his new book, was banging at the door for Ruud Gullit. And by that time, Ruud was already on KLM on his way to Amsterdam, and he got the sack. But yeah, it wasn't nice. I mean, what he did to Rob Lee as well, Stuart Pearce and John Barnes, just totally disregarding. Ruud was fantastic with football, but man management wasn't his thing. So maybe I shouldn't have done it and questioned the manager, but I just felt when you left Alan Shearer out against Sunderland. And also when I said to him, you don't do it against Sunderland, it's our biggest rivals. He went, well, it's not a city rival, it's a regional. I went, you really don't get it, do you? I said, we hate each other. It doesn't matter if it's not in the same city. That's the whole point, that we're not in the same city, because we'd can kill each other if we was. So he said no. So yeah, it was very tense, and it wasn't great. But then Sir Bobby come in and changed everything. Next game we won 8-0. So we beat Sheffield Wednesday 8-0, and Alan got 5 goals. So I think that's just proved the thing about Ruud and Sir Bobby Robson.
Justified for sure. Question for you, Dan, and linked to Eddie Howe. It goes, question for Dan, in all seriousness, how would you feel about having Eddie Howe as your manager, just out of interest? It's not going to happen.
Right, well, can I just say, is it Dan going to support Newcastle then? Is that what's happening? Fucking hell. If I hear another Arsenal fan talk about Isaac and my...
There's a lot of players I'd take.
A
lot of players I'd take, man, from Newcastle.
That was Eddie on the phone. That was Eddie on the phone.
He's agent saying, don't tell him he's coming to Arsenal. Don't tell him he's coming to Arsenal, Warren. No, look, I would. The reason I wouldn't take Eddie out is because I want a manager that has a CV that says I can get this team across the line in major tournaments. And although Eddie Howe's won his first trophy, I don't think Eddie Howe would win Arsenal the league. I just don't. I think that he's a great manager, but I would rather go and get a CV. But look, I'd rather have Eddie Howe than Mikel Arteta. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, Emery, didn't you? You went and got Emery. Yeah, the CV of winning everything. Look what you did to him.
I don't know if he did, though. I don't know if he did have a winning CV. I mean, he won Europa Leagues, but he never got with PSG. He struggled with Arsenal. He struggled. Villarreal, he'll do well with them because that's the sort of club. I want somebody like Carlo Ancelotti, Diego Simeone, Simone Inzaghi. That type of managers who I want. But we won't get them because the Cronkies don't want them. They want a yes man. If we sacked Arteta, we'll go and get Cesc Fabregas, someone like that.
You got Barton, though. You got Barton. You're already halfway there.
Well, let's get Simeone as well then. Let's go. I'd love to see Simeone in the Premier League. I think he'd. I know he hasn't won anything for a couple of years, and maybe he's under pressure at Atletico, but the guy is ridiculous, man. yeah, you wouldn't mess with him. Put it that way. He'd sort this team out, get it across the line. That's for sure, in my opinion.
Right, two for Warren. One friend and one foe. Okay, the first one is friend, because Colton says Barton is my personal hero growing up at the tune, and this is one from one of your foes. Where is it? Here. And if you remember from the last time you were on, Warren, Sebastian, he was out for you. I can't remember the context again, but I think he met up in the end. But he says, "Hey Warren, enjoyed the banter last time you were on. Do you think there's any substance on these Tino to City links, or is it just clickbait?"
No, I think they would be interested on him. There's no doubt about that. There's an interest in a lot of our players. But my question would be to all of them players, why would you want to leave Newcastle? Why, when they're going to get paid well, they're going to start competing, you're going to challenge. And I hate it as well, Dan, like you said, this word project that comes out, which seems to be, but this project is on fire. And, you know, best fans in the world, why would you want to leave? But there's definitely... people will want our players. And I think that's a sign of success and respect. So, you know, it's when they don't want your players that you've got to worry when you're trying to get rid of people and no one wants to touch them. I think a lot of our players would walk into most European teams now, which is great credit to them as individuals, but also down to the coach. But my answer is, why would you want to leave?
Great question.
Yeah, exactly. Another great question here coming. I like this one from Brett. Right, he goes, evening. Question for Warren. Who would you have preferred to play with, Philippe Albert or Fabian Schär? And how worried would you have been when they went marauding forward?
Well, I wouldn't have been worried because I would have been forward as well. So don't worry about that. Defence wasn't my forte. So I would have been forward with that. Oh, that is a really tough one because I'm a big fan of Fabian Schär. Philippe Albert, before he got injured, I would take Philippe. I think he was a wonderful defender going forward, but Fabian Schär is probably a better defender. So I would go with Fabian. And also looking at Philippe now to where Fabian Schär is, I'd go with Fabian Schär because he's a good looking fellow, he's intelligent. So I'd go with Fabian Schär rather than Philippe, who's gone a little bit on the waistline, should we say, but still a great character. But yeah, I'd go with Fabian.
This one's for you, Dan. Jordy True for Life comes in with this one. This could burst the bubble again. But he goes, why did Arteta change attacking attractive football, blowing teams away to this boring style we now see? Simple question, why?
Oh, right, this could go on for about 10 minutes.
I'll keep it short. Because he's fearful and he's got PTSD. He's more worried about not losing a game than going to win it. That is simply why. That is all he's doing now, is do not try and lose this game. And what he's doing is he's overthinking it and he's trying not to lose games and he's dropping points by drawing or by losing. So for me, I want to go back to how we were under 22-23 season where we were blitzing teams and scintillating. But I think he's got PTSD from it because we've blew an 8-point lead.
Dan, you're going to sleep well tonight, son, aren't you? You're gonna sleep well.
I've got it all off my chest and now I can sleep.
Last question then, and we'll end the questions there. It comes from Tom Dixon. He goes, Warren, do you want the derby next season with Sunderland now in the playoff final?
No.
I'd love them to get beat at Wembley again. It'd be great for them to get beat at Wembley.
I need Sheffield United up, man. I'll tell you why. Warren will agree. Tyrese Campbell obviously is the son of Kevin Campbell, and I want him in the Premier League, man, for my good friend Kevin. So that's why I want Tyrese up there, man, for Sheffield United. So come on, you Blades.
Yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, I can't disagree with that with Big Kev. So he'll be looking down, but just for the region for Newcastle, give him another year then. Let Kev have his success with his son. That would be great to see, and then maybe next year. If not, fucking let him stay down there for another 50 years for all I care. Let him stay down there. Actually, I'll rephrase that. Yeah, I want Sheffield to come up and they can fucking rot there for the next 50 years for all I care.
I don't think there's not a better way of ending the questions with that. Absolutely spot on. Lads, we're going to end on predictions, but look, I have to say it's been an hour of really, really good football chat. Really absolute pleasure to have you both on the channel.
I feel wonderful now speaking to Dan. It's like having a meeting. I feel wonderful.
Yeah, so do I, Warren. I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing, mate.
I'm going to walk on the beach. I can't wait.
It's therapeutic to get it out there.
Arsenal therapy, mate. Arsenal therapy.
Definitely. But lads, we'll come to you to get predictions. Warren, prediction for Sunday?
No, I want Dan first. I want Dan.
He's loving this. He's loving it.
What about the suffering for a few years where he's talking about Champions League and how well they're doing, and can you come on as a guest, and we're aiming this about when we used to beat you and things like that. So yeah, I'm getting my own back now. Go on, Dan. What are you going to do on Sunday?
Go on, fella.
Yeah, just to let you know, Pete, can we not invite Warren back on anymore, please? Not whilst I'm on, anyway, please.
Fourth time. He has to go back for the fourth time. A hat trick today.
Oh God, I don't want to bloody predict a loss. I hate doing it. I do think Newcastle are going to do us. I really do, mate. I think, if I'm being sensible, I think Newcastle win this 2-1. But I'll so go with my heart and say that Arsenal can cling on to second and we'll win 2-1. So let's go for that, mate. Let's go for that. I am hearing reports though that we're putting in a swap deal: Kai Havertz, Jesus, and a packet of Quavers for Isak. So watch out for this one. Watch out.
What for his shirt? You're going to get his shirt?
Yeah.
That you're getting.
Go on,
after all this hype, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I think there'll be a draw.
Okay.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Defense.
Sorry to disappoint. Yeah, no. It's not like me, but I think we'll do, and then we'll win at home, and that'll be enough.
Okay, that's what you go for.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with what I said yesterday. 2-1 Newcastle. Now, it's slightly worrying me a bit more that Rice maybe looks like he'll be back, and maybe Havertz as well. But no, I still think 2-1. We're on a roll. Momentum will take us forward, and yeah, go with that.
I think there's going to be one goal in it. I'm going to go Newcastle to win 1-0. I think it's going to be a tight game. Pressure on it for the second place, although it seems like Arsenal don't want to really, not really too bothered about it. But I think they will be. I think they'll be up for it. It's going to be a close game. But I'm going to go Newcastle 1-0. People in the chat.
What's your last game, Pete? Quickly, sorry. What's your last game? Is it Everton?
Everton
at home.
Yeah, I think
they're on the beach. Moisey's got them safe. They're on the beach. We'll win that.
I listened to someone today and they were saying that, Everton's last game of the season is this weekend because it's their last game at Goodison. So they're going to put everything into that. And then, as Warren said, be on the beach. And hey, I'm happy with that. We'll take that all day long. But people in the chat, put your score predictions in as we wrap up the show. Make sure you get those likes in. Big thanks to Sophie and Tom as well for getting those likes up. Get your likes in, subscribe to the channel. Of course, Potts is now on over 40,000 subscribers for his channel.
Well done.
Wow. 40,000 for you, Dan.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
There you go.
Hey, someone paid $4 million for you, Warren.
Fucking hell.
What's that about?
I was value. I was good value. He's doom and gloom.
They're loyal gooners, mate. They're loyal gooners. They don't waffle and accept rubbish, mate. Do you know what I mean?
They're suffering. That is magnificent. 40,000. Go on, son.
Thank you, Warren.
I didn't know you was that famous. God. Yeah.
Thank you, Warren.
But it's not just Arsenal fans because there's a hell of a lot of Loaded Mag Ultras that are subscribing to Potts' channel because it's good.
Big
great
up
content.
to them, man. Big up.
Keep up the great work, mate. But yeah, everyone go subscribe to Potts' channel as well. Subscribe to Loaded Mag NUFC, and we will be back with a match reaction on Sunday. Win, lose, or draw. Hopefully smiling. Hopefully Champions League music will be playing. But you guys take care and have a good evening.
Might see some of this man as well. Good night, everyone. Cheers, guys.
sir.